Good afternoon, honorable leaders, distinguished guests, and fellow community members. I stand before you today on behalf of the Muslim American Public Affairs Council, a proud and unwavering voice of the Muslim American community in the political sphere. Our mission is to ensure that our voices are not only heard but respected, our concerns are not only raised but addressed, and our values are not only represented but reflected in the policies that shape our nation. We have long sought meaningful engagement with all political parties, assessing candidates not by their words but their actions. We ask one critical question: do they really listen to the Muslim community? Do they understand our struggle, invite us to actively shape our decisions, the country's decisions that affect us? Unfortunately, both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump have shown us that they do not. During Democratic National Convention, despite our considered efforts and rallying cries of many, our voices were silenced. Muslim and Arab leaders were ignored as well. We sought to address the atrocities in Palestine. The majority of Americans, including many within the Democratic base, demand an end to Israeli war on Gaza, a halt to the flow of American weapons used to commit unspeakable acts, and accountability for those who perpetuate those horrors. Yet, Harris, through her actions, has made it clear that she will continue the policies of the current administration, offering unwavering support to Israel while turning a blind eye to the oppression of the Palestinian people. In contrast, Dr. Jill Stein represents leadership that our community has long sought. She has not only spoken for Palestinian rights, but she has traveled this nation to amplify our voices, to stand shoulder to shoulder with us, and to include us in her vision for a just and equitable future. Dr. Stein's commitment is clear. She has appointed a Muslim running mate, Professor Butch Ware, and has dedicated her campaign to fighting the genocide funded by American tax dollars. Her genuine care for our community was evident when she spent hours with us, listening, engaging, and offering solutions grounded in justice and humanity. The American people, by vast majorities, oppose using tax dollars to fund wars, to prop up unjust regimes, and ignore the cries of the oppressed. There is a hunger in this country for reform, reform that Dr. Stein and her campaign represent. While we may not agree with every point in her platform, we recognize her as the most courageous and effective advocate for real change in both foreign policy and domestic reforms in this race. MAPAC stands firmly for the Muslim values of justice and integrity. Today, we declare our intent to position the Muslim community at the heart of the national movement to challenge a two-party system that has failed on so many fronts and so many Americans. North Carolina, as a pivotal swing state, is now the first to stand up and demand change. We hope that our leadership here will inspire other swing states to follow us. Let this be the spark that ignites a movement across our nation. Together, we will move mountains. Let it be known to all parties, to all political parties, paying lip service to our community will no longer suffice. The time for genuine engagement is now, and ignoring our voice will only cost you our support. Dr. Jill Stein and Professor Butch Ware, MAPAC proudly endorses your campaign. We stand ready to work alongside you to ensure that the Muslim community, especially in the critical state of North Carolina, rallies behind your movement for justice, peace, and truly democratic America. Let us build this movement state by state, and together we will shape the future. This endorsement is only for the presidential candidate, while remaining firm in our search for candidates on the local races, regardless of party affiliation, who stand for the investment of taxpayers' money to lift up their communities in the great state of North Carolina. The endorsement of congressional, state, and local races will be released in mid-October. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. I'm so honored by your endorsement, by your support, and by your collaboration in this incredible moment. In the words of Martin Luther King, the arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. It feels like we are in this very historic moment right now where the universe is bending towards justice because of incredible moral giants, visionaries, people of true integrity, like those here with MAPAC. And I so appreciate your being that spark that Kader just mentioned. This is about a spark for democracy, a spark for justice, and a spark for peace. because truly this is the position of the American people, as well as the people of the world, and the International Court of Justice, and the United Nations, and the International Criminal Court. This is the moral position. This is the position of human rights. That is, that this genocide must be shut down, and it must be shut down right now. This is not the opinion of some people on the margins here. This is what the overwhelming majority of the American people want. And as Cotter also mentioned, this is what the American people are demanding: a weapons embargo now to insist that we move forward with ending this genocide, which our government has the power to do. We know that's been done before. Ronald Reagan did it. Dwight Eisenhower did it with a simple phone call. Every vote that is cast on behalf of our campaign is a shot across the bow of empire. It is a statement that we, the moral majority here in this country, demand an end to this reckless, endangering, and immoral war. And we have the numbers to demand it. By casting our votes to reflect our numbers, we actually then push the system forward. And it is a warning shot across the bow of empire that we are getting organized, we are here, we are asserting our power, which is enormous. And in many ways, the critical act here is by flicking the switch in our minds from powerlessness, which is what the empire tries to persuade us of nonstop, 24/7. We need to flick that switch from powerless to powerful, because the moment we do that, we actually do have the power. We have the numbers, we have the solutions, we have the majority to actually insist that we put an end to this war, and further, that we move from a foreign policy based on endless war, based on military and economic domination, that we move from this imperial policy to a foreign policy based on international law, human rights, and diplomacy. And in doing that, we not only meet the moral demand of the nation, we also meet the economic needs here in this country, which are being miserably ignored, while over half of our congressional budget is being spent on the endless war machine. Yet there are some 87 million Americans who do not have adequate health insurance to get the health care that they need. We have an absolute crisis of health in this country. Half of Americans do not have access to housing that they need and are living within 1 or 2 paychecks of evictions. Actual half of Americans are paying 30 to 50% of their income to keep a roof over their heads. We have enormous numbers of Americans who are locked into student debt and medical debt. We have a climate crisis, and yet we are squandering half of our congressional dollars on these endless wars for domination, which are not making us more secure. We're also losing them catastrophically. So by standing up together, we have a chance to mobilize here in a way that's never been seen before. And I have to say, having been witness to many wars, beginning with the war in Vietnam, which was another immoral, destructive, unbelievably expensive war, it took years to build opposition to that war. Here, what we've seen is absolutely astounding, that within a month or two, there was overwhelming opposition to this war. And we owe such a debt of gratitude to MAPAC, and particularly to the Arab American and the Muslim American community that was able to stand up with their moral authority, having been on the receiving end of empire, so many of you, to stand up and to demand that we take a better way forward. So in your endorsement here, you are not only leading the way for the Arab American and the Muslim American community, but really for all Americans who will benefit enormously from your, from your courage, from your advocacy and for your taking this really profound position now, leading the way to an America that works for all of us and a world that works for all of us. This is within our reach if we all stand up and stand together with the courage that MAPAC has exhibited here today. So I just want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, and I very much look forward to working with you in partnership to move as far and as fast as we can and to turn this election, which has already been full of surprises and 180s. There may be yet more surprises in store as the American people begin to understand that they actually do have a choice in this election. And we are that one choice across the country, which is anti-war, anti-genocide, pro-worker, climate emergency. There are more than enough of us actually to win this election if we decide to stand up with the courage and conviction that MAPAC has shown here today. So again, thank you so much. And I'm unbelievably excited about working with you, not just in the remaining 2 months, but in the years going forward, because we have a mission, the imperative to continue this work will, it's going on because we can end the genocide, but then we still have an occupation to deal with. We still have the apartheid state of Israel, and we still have U.S. imperial foreign policy, of which this is one dramatic example. So I think we have a great future here together, and I cannot imagine doing this work with a better partner than what we have in MAPAC. So again, thank you all so very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you for representing us.
My honor. Thank you all so much.